Welcome to the talk on Hekate. And we're going to do a little bit, little katabasis. We're going to slowly descend into this material, and we are going to go very deep. So, but the deepest part is towards the end. So gradually, through various layers, we will get there. But I guess we got to start that, Hecate is associated with other, certain other goddesses. She was born to the Titans, according to some traditions, Perseus and Asteria. We'll talk about that in a little bit. She was the guide to Demeter as she sought her daughter, Persephone, right? Piercing the night of the underworld with their torches held in each hand, right? Her role in Hades is very well known, working for Persephone, in Hades in various tasks, right? She's connected with Artemis, obviously, Selene, goddess of the moon, Despoina, right? And a few others, Cretace, the Tarian, Chersonesus, the Cloacian, nymph Perseus, the heroine Epiphagenia, say that 3 times fast, right? The Thracian goddess Bendis, the Euboean nymph Mara, or the dog star, the Eleusinian nymph Daria, and the Boeotian nymph Hertina. I love these words. But anyway, the point is, she is the queen of all nature. She is especially connected to like Demeter and Rhea, Brimo, right? Cybele, a whole bunch of names. But speaking of names, let's take care of the name controversy. Sometimes the main controversy. Now, you're going to hear her name all these different ways. It's almost as diverse as the name Isis. You're going to have everybody fighting about how to say it, what's the proper way, and Asat or Isat or Aset or yes. And we're going to have people correcting each other all the time about how you're supposed to say it. Well, today we're going to just take care of that situation. Isn't that nice? And we're going to also go into connections to where the name came from. Well, okay, so there's a few theories. Okay, so sometimes the Greeks, I'm going by the primary sources, so why not? The Greeks sometimes will say that Hecate is connected to the idea of will, and that it is an obscure epithet for Apollo, for example, Ikatos Hekatios, right? He that operates from afar. Makes sense, right? So you have that possibility, right? But obviously it will be the feminine form. Others you will see is that will say that her name is connected to a pre-Olympian chthonic goddess, and so many scholars claim that her name is not derived from Greek at all, but comes from ancient Anatolia, right? There is a claim that that what will happen is Egyptians trade about with Anatolia, especially the region known as Caria, as well as Lycia. That's along the southern and western coast of Turkey today. And these Egyptians, they worship a midwife goddess by the name of Hekate, right? So, and of course, it happens to be the protector of women in childbirth. Okay, so maybe it's that, right? Maybe it's like the Egyptians arrived on the shores of Anatolia, and it's just Hecate. Well, yeah, maybe, but it's popular. But there is also a indigenous goddess of Anatolia. Um, there is the Bahatian, which of course is before the Hittites, mother goddess, by the name. It's interesting. His name is it's Hekate. So sorry, it's Kataha, which means divine queen, but it can be also said as Hot Kat Ta. Got it? Hot, that's like hat, hot, ka. Hot, kat, ta. Sorry. So what they often will do in these languages is they'll have the consonant and then they will have the vowel after that. So the first part would be the hot. The next part would be the kat, and the final part would be the ta. That certainly sounds like Hekate, does it not? It sure does. But wait a minute, Dr. Rietveld, Hecate, kat, kat, ta. So earlier on, that's why you always hear me say Hekate. Does that make sense? Because if you're going back to the Anatolian roots of the word, it has that sound. Now, those people who say Hecate are going, oh no, we're wrong. No, you're not wrong. What? But you just said the original. Yes, but here's the problem, and it is a problem, and that is that we have also Greek poetry, and we also have sounds that seem to rhyme. So there is evidence that there were Greeks who called her Hekate. So those people who say Hekate, you're right. Right? Those people who say Hecate, you're right. You guys are all right. You guys feel better now? So if you're going for the Hecate, that's kind of the Greek lyric kind of thing, the way it sounds. If you're going the Hecate, you're kind of going the ancient Anatolian. But no matter what, can't we all just get along? Isn't that great? We just started off taking care of a big controversy, and we're all happy, maybe. Okay. Now, of course, now here's the problem with origins, right? We talked about the name. Let's go. Some people will say that she is from Thrace, right? And this is, of course, the area today that is part of Greece, but you have also a little part, a little bit of Bulgaria in there. You got and you have a little Macedonia mixed in. It's that area. It's Thrace. So they say that she is from that particular area, and there is absolute fact that there is a connection between her and the goddess by the name of Bendis, Bendis. And that Bendis is described as the one that has two spears. So you can see that seems to parallel the idea of the two torches, Hecate, right? Bendis worship was accepted in Athens. It arrived around the 5th century BCE. And at the same time, the Hecate worship became more popularized in Athens, coming from Thrace. So, and we know we have, for example, Sophocles in the 5th century will talk in his lost play. We have a fragment known as the Root Cutters. Bendis was conflated with both, according to this source, Hecate and Cybele, right? And so we know that, and we know that Hecate's worship also expanded into the regions of Thrace. But wait a second. But people are saying that Hecate comes from Thrace. See, this is where it gets interesting. Okay. So there is a connection with Thrace, and there's a lot of people who say, well, she must originate in Thrace. Other people are saying, no. She originates in Anatolia. Don't worry, I'll give an answer on that. We'll be there. But anyway, so there is a controversy over this. We do know that Bendis, she was a nighttime deity. Okay, so she connected, and she's very much like Artemis. Bendis was connected with the moon, right? Also the hunt. We know through the Oracle of Dodona. As a result of that, that's why this worship was introduced in the first place in Athens. In Plato does mention her, right? In fact, there's even celebrations known as the Benditia, right? Which included horse races and of course they're riding, get this, holding torches, right? You know, so Cook goes, you haven't heard that there is to be a torchlight race this evening on horseback in honor of the goddess. On horseback, said I. This is a new idea. Will they carry torches and pass them along to one another as they race with the horses? And and how do you mean? That's the way of it, said Polemarchus. And besides, there is to be a night festival which will be worth seeing. There you go. So there's a little ancient flavor there. Hey, come on, let's go to the horse race. You just don't burn yourself with the torches. Okay. So if you play with Hekate, you do play with fire, right? So she is shown depicted just like Artemis in this context. However, she has an Asiatic snug-sleeved undergarment. Now, I went. That's interesting. So she short chitin, short dress, but she has her undergarment is from Anatolia. Doesn't seem like a Thracian thing, does it? Ah, you're getting me right. It's like, well, it's kind of a mixture as far as her what she's wearing. Okay, so you're getting where I'm going, right? So Thrace is important, but it's not where she's from. I know. A lot of books are going, no, no, she has to be from Thrace. In fact, I was in the classics department at UCI, learning Greek and Latin, and they were insisting it's Thrace. In fact, if you do the dictionaries online, you'll see it's Thrace, it's Thrace, it's Thrace. Wikipedia, I call it Wikipedia. They'll say it's Thrace, and I say no, it's not. Oh man. Okay, sorry, we scholars, we just ruin everything. You know, that's why we have to keep publishing books because once we think we know something, something else is discovered, and then we have to write something new. It keeps us in business. So, so the next origin for Hecate, you know where we're going with this, is connected to Phrygia and Anatolia, and there are connections to Cybele. With, by the way, there's many symbols that they share together. Like, for example, the symbol of the dogs. Cybele and dogs are connected. Lions. There's a lot of depictions. People don't know this with Hecate with lions on either side. Right? She's connected to torches. Cybele, torches, and serpents, and caves as well. There's underworld aspect to it. So this is, and of course, these are all connections to an Earth Mother, an ancient Earth Mother. It's pretty old when they make Hecate connected with the Titans. See, the Titans, that's the other group. It's like that's the group before the Olympians. So already you can see that she has earlier origins, right? And you have, of course, she's conflated in some cases with the Titan mother of the gods, Rhea, and that happens quite a bit, right? Cybele was worshipped at Ephesus by the 10th century BCE, and she's connected to Artemis of the Ephesians. But there is a Hecate element in connection to Cybele and Artemis of the Ephesians, which we will talk about later in this lecture. Don't worry, I'll get there. So there is a connection, a very strong one at that. And so anyway, and as I said before, there seems to be a connection with also the Neo-Hittite goddess Kububa, right? In connection to the Phrygian goddess. Now, once again, we're going back from the Hittites, and look, lo and behold, we're back to that same old name again. Remember? Hot, hot, hot. That's right. We're back to her again. Wow. So we have returned full circle back to Anatolia. And this is something that most people don't. Oh, here we go. So I work a lot with in Turkey, and I work a lot with inscriptions. And one of my favorite places to go, other than Ephesus, is ancient Caria. Caria and Lycia. They're really beautiful places. Take a look at the inscriptions there. It's like everybody is. It's like the word Hekate is everywhere. It's everywhere in the inscriptions. But the provenance is not published enough. So you even have, for example, uh, um, the father of Mausolus. His name is Hecatius. you know, but it is part of familiar names. People are using this all the time at a very high concentration. So this is a common name. You even have a shrine dedicated to Hecate at a place known as Lagina, Lagina. You got to go there. They have just restored some of the pillars as of within the last year. I mean, during the whole COVID situation, archaeologists need more things to do than crowd control and try to, keep things restored from tourist trampling on everything. So they had a little more time. So let's put up some pillars. It looks really good. And I do recommend going there, but also, be um, cautious and don't ruin the material culture. So there you have it. So ancient Caria. Okay, so wait a second. You got ancient Caria, and then you have Thrace above. Is there a missing link? Yes, there is. Missing link probably goes back to the Minoans. And the Minoans as they interact with the Anatolians. I didn't say they originated the idea. I'm saying they're carrying the idea. I do a lot of work with those known as Luwians, Luwians, and we know that the Luwians interacted with the Minoans. In fact, we have a few key words as a result of that from Luwian, which we have, by the way, deciphered. And it's clear that even though the Minoans, as we know it, and then the Mycenaeans after them, occupied the western shore of Anatolia, of Turkey today, we also know that there was a transmission of those ideas going the opposite direction from the Luwians, the Hittites, and of course, earlier Anatolian groups before that time. And that shows the kind of mixture, right? Many people say they're, because Hecate is connected to snakes, they'll make an association with the Minoan snake goddess. Yeah, okay. But that's more circumstantial a little bit. I mean, I could see that. I don't want to dig that far. As a scholar, I'm cautious. But you take a look. I do actually find something in the Mycenaeans. You gotta hold on to your horses a little bit. That's a good phrase for Hecate because he's connected with horses. You'll know that. But hey, Poseidon is connected with horses too. I know that. And that's an interesting point that we'll bring up in a few seconds. You're going to love this. Okay. So we take a look at the Mycenaean tablets from a place called Pylos, around 1200 BCE, a little earlier, because, sea people, they did their work on the place, but they did preserve it. And we find the name of the goddess and in linear B, and the name is, I'll spell it out, Iphimedia. Epimedia. Wow, Epimedia. That sounds like something. Yeah, we find that. And she's connected to Persua and Duia, of course, is connected to the word God, right? Right. You got that feminine goddess, right? And in fact, we find that this word is used as an alternative name for Hecate. You're going, where are you getting this from? Well, we find this in the Catalog of Women as connected to Hesiod, dating from the 8th century BCE. Oh, okay. And we got more connections to her. Oh, that's interesting. So linear B names this, right? Epimedia, right? The dia is understood as the Wiya, all right? So it's basically, it's a goddess, right? It's the she. It's kind of like the she-Zeus, right? It's a divine one, right? It's kind of cool, right there. And but this name is connected to another name, Epigenia. Wait a second. Wait. I think I know that name. Yeah, that's the daughter of Agamemnon. And you're going, okay, you're making connection. I am making connection. I told you this is going to be a scholastic talk. Aren't you glad? I'm not going to. So what happens here is that the name breaks down. There is a connection between them. This gets better. So, and obviously, Agamemnon sacrificed his daughter, Virginia, right, to what? To Artemis, darker form. But we'll see what happens there in a few moments. But also, if you take the latter part of the word, epimedea, you get the word Medea. Hey, you heard of Medea, right? Media. The sorceress from Elcus, the whole Jason and the Argonaut story, right? And of course, the name sometimes is connected to a think and plan. Well, hey, guess what? Hey, isn't she connected to Hecate too? She is, isn't she? So are you seeing the connections, the connective chords, right? So this name, by the way, we're not even done yet. We also find the name Epimedea, right, connected with Hecate as well as Artemis, even in the Odyssey, right? You're right. Remember this, so Odysseus, he's in Hades. He sees a ghost of Elois's wife, who is Epimedea, whose boast it was to have laid next to Poseidon. Oh, that's right. And she bore him two sons. One, though their life was short, they were giants. We have this also in the pseudo Apollodorus too. We'll mention this as well. Epimedea falls in love with Poseidon. They mated together. Why is that important? Because we do know for a fact that going back to the Minoans and into the Minoans, Poseidon was the husband or spouse of who? Do you guys know? Who? Spouse of the mother goddess, Demeter. So Demeter, of course, De or Ga, right? Mater. So what's that? What's that? So of course you have Da or Ge, or as in Gaia, means of course earth, right? Mater means mother, so earth mother, and then Pos, spouse, Ida. Ida is a derivative of the word Da, which also of course means the spouse of who? Spouse of the earth. Hey, wait. So wait a minute. You're just saying that Hecate is a shadow aspect of the earth mother of Anatolia that is also connected to the Minoan and Mycenaean goddess? Oh, now everything's starting to make sense, isn't it? Right? You're having all these epiphanies. Epiphagenia, right? It's happening. Okay, you guys having fun yet? I am. I'm having a blast. Okay. Okay, so there we go. And so there is this connection that goes all the way back. Well, this is the part I really want to tell you. Hecate is really powerful and amazing even after this. She is powerful. And remember, think about the missing piece of the Minoans and Mycenaeans. It kind of makes sense that you're going to have in Thrace, right? Evidence, right? That the Minoans and the Mycenaeans, they colonized all the way around the Aegean. So of course you're going to have connections in Caria, right? In Lycia, along the Ionian coast, and of course you're going to have north in the area of Thrace. That just kind of makes sense, right? And it's interesting because there are islands in between that has hybrid aspects between the two. Just can't make this up. It's amazing. Okay, so let's go back to Hesiod. Oh, Hesiod, thank you, Hesiod, for existing, because without you, we would not have a nice, wonderful connection between the Dark Age period and going back to the Minoans and Mycenaeans, and of course, obviously going into the classical period later on. He's around 700 BCE, and he writes in his Thogony about Hekate. All right, so I want to read this. I'll take it slowly, and it's worth every word. This is where I really want to focus in, although the mysteries will come later. I'm getting some water here. As I know we have certain ideas of her, and I want to make sure that you know that came later. That's right. No, that came later. So this is 700 BCE. I want you to hear how she's described, and then you're going to realize that she changes quite a bit later. Unfortunately, this is another reason why I say katabasis, right? The descent, because she goes from just an amazing goddess to something that has problematic aspects to it. That's not fair. Patriarchy, it does things. All right. So Hesiod says, Hekate, whom Zeus, the son of Kronos, honored above all. Wait, that's pretty good just there. So she's pretty exalted. I know you have her as this, magical, mysterious goddess that's kind of shrouded and hidden and connected to knights and so forth. But you know what? Here, a little different here. He gave her splendid gifts to have a share of the earth and the unfruitful sea. He received honor also in starry heaven. Oh, well, wait a minute. So she's not quite chthonic here, right? She has a Olympian, or I shouldn't say Olympian because she's Titan, Titanic, right? She has a heavenly or above aspect, but she also has a below aspect. She received honor also in starry heaven and is honored exceedingly by the deathless gods. For to this day, whenever any one of men on earth offers rich sacrifices and prays for a favor according to custom, he calls upon Hecate. So that's going to change later on. But at this time, Hecate, she's the go-to person. Hey, you want to do this? Great honor comes full easily to him whose prayers the goddess receives favorably, and she bestows wealth upon him. So she has at her disposal wealth, the abundance of wealth. Well, that, of course, Pluton, right, comes from the earth. It's his, material aspect coming from her. For the power surely is with her. I want you to remember, power is surely with her. Because guess what's going to happen? The idea of power and Hecate, they go together. Later on, the idea of power and Hecate, it connects all the way to the Chaldaean Oracles and into Neoplatonic thought, where Hecate is the one who has the power, right? So it comes back. So this aspect is not lost. So I have some good news. She is going to have a revival through the Chaldaean Oracles and through Neoplatonism, Anglicans and others. It's fascinating. So here we go. For as many as were born of earth and ocean, amongst all these, she has her due portion. Every word is loaded. So she is connected to sky, sea, and earth. Hey, look, 3 aspects. And And so we're getting the idea where this originally comes from, that she is in all three of these realms. No wonder she later on gets connected with the liminal spaces, the threshold spaces, the realm of the boundaries, right? Because this is how she connected all things together. Once again, this idea will be revived with Chaldaean Oracles and Neoplatonism, where there are these vortices that connect the above and below, and she is this world soul that holds it all together. And through, of course, her various spirits, through these various whirlpools, which we'll talk about later. Ooh, there's some mysteries, right? Okay, moving on. The son of Kronos did her no wrong, nor took anything away of all that was her portion, which is all three areas of the former Titan gods. But she holds, as the division was at the first, from the beginning, privilege both in earth and in heaven and in sea. Thank you, Hesiod, for doing this to us, right? There it is. You want it spelled out? I just spelled it out. Now, of course, we use the word spell, maybe more, but there you have it. So Hecate has a lot of areas under her mantle, doesn't it? She's very important. She is, according to Hesiod, whom she will, she greatly aids and advances, right? She sits by kings and judgment, right? She connects to the assembly, right? And when men arm themselves for battle that destroys men, then the goddess is at hand to give victory and grant glory readily to whom she wills. Even the soldiers worshipped her. This is common knowledge in 700 BCE. He's not talking about eons ago. He's talking about at that time. She is looked at that way, right? And to those whose business is in the gray, discomfortable sea, and who pray to Hecate and the loud crashing earth shaker, who's that? Poseidon, right? Right? Easily the glorious goddess gives great catch, and easily she takes it away as soon as it seems, if she so wills. So she's connected to the seas, but she's already still, you can see, still there's this Poseidon connection, right? There is a Poseidon aspect there. She is honored amongst all the deathless gods, right? Okay. So from the beginning, she is a nurse of the young, and these are her honors. Oh, look, she's connected to the young too, and nursing. Wait, this is Artemis too. I know they share this characteristic. Why? Because they're connected. They're all aspects of these ancient Anatolian goddesses. And this is now you understand how it connects together. Well, let's talk about the parentage. That's not controversial enough, right? So-called, there's lots of stories of her parents, but Hesiod mentions this, that born of Perseus and Asteria. I do want to go down this rabbit hole, this vortices, so to speak, because it'll be worth it, right? So not so much the father. He's not as interesting, but I think the mother is interesting. The mother, of course, is Asteria, right? Asteria. Well, now who is Asteria? Well, Asteria it has many of the same characteristics as Hecate. Many of the same ideas are connected, and Asteria. Actually, let's have Cicero help me out here. Okay, in his he writes, if you think Leto a goddess, how can you not think that Hecate is one who is the daughter of Leto's sister, Asteria? There we go. Hey, Leto. Yeah. Okay. So, uh, also the goddess Nyx and Asteria are also connected, which is the realm of the night. So Asteria is connected to the starry night. She's kind of the darker side of things. And she is the son. She is the sister of Leto. Why is Leto important? Well, Leto, last I checked, gave birth to two goddesses, Artemis and Apollo. Oh, now you're getting it. So it's like, wait, Leto's sister is Asteria. Oh, that makes Hecate, oh, related. It sure does, right? In the family tree, they're all together. Oh, it gets better because in ancient sources, it says not only is Artemis and Apollo born in the Ortygia gardens, in some cases they'll have a nurse by the name of Ortygia, and they say that she is really not Ortygia, but Asteria, and that she is looking after Artemis and Apollo as the nurse uh, that worked alongside Leto. Isn't that fun? Yeah, you're going, this is really complicated, Dr. Rietveld. Of course it is. It's Greeks. They got to make things complicated. If it wasn't complicated, we wouldn't be as fascinated, right? Okay, maybe not. So you have these connections. Sometimes Hecate is also connected to Demeter. And you'll just see a lot of sources talking about that. And you're going, well, how was she connected to Demeter? I kind of just talked about that, right? You know? So, of course, we had a derivation of Demeter, right? Who is what? Earth goddess? Oh, yeah. Okay. So you're seeing how these words are all connected. But I do have to say, there's another story of Demeter that's connected to Hecate, and that's, of course, the Persephone story, right? So here we go. So we'll go there right now. We'll go to the Homeric hymn number 2, dedicated to Demeter. It says, then, I want to read it because I just love this portion here. Then she, Persephone, cried out shrilly, of course, as she was seized by the god Hades, with her voice, calling upon her father, the son of Kronos, which is Zeus, who is most high and excellent. But no one, either of the deathless gods or mortal men, heard her voice, nor yet the olive trees bearing rich fruit. Only, I really want to read this, only tender-hearted Hecate, bright coiffed, the daughter of Perseus, heard the girl from her cave and the Lord Helios. Now, wait, tender-hearted Hecate? Yeah, she's still tender-hearted. She's kind. She's loving. Am I doing a lot right now to deconstruct Hecate for you? Is this changing things a little bit, right? You're going, wait, this is tender. She's kind. Yeah, she wants to help out, right? Right, so there you have it. Then, of course, then for 9 days, queenly Deo, or Demeter, right, watered over the earth with flaming torches in her hands, which, of course, is reflected. Okay? So grieved that she never tasted ambrosia and the sweet draughts of nectar, nor sprinkled her body with water. But when the 10th enlightening dawn had come, right? We should use that 10th enlightening dawn. You know, this is the 9th enlightening dawn today. Hecate, with a torch in her hands, plural. So she's, she's holding it like this. People assume maybe it's 2 torches. Met Demeter, right? And spoke to her and told her the news. So wait, I mean, Hecate is going to help out, of course, because she's kind, she's family-hearted. I am so tired of seeing this goddess put down all the time, right? You can see now, it's like, well, this is, the revisionism is incredible. It sure is. Yeah, okay, so what happens is, she says, Queenly Demeter, I like to say Demeter, because that's how he used to say it. Queenly Demeter, or Demeter, bringer of seasons and giver of good gifts, what god of heaven or what mortal man has wrapped away Persephone and pierced with sorrow your dear heart? For I heard, she says, a voice, yet saw not with my eyes who it was. But I tell you truly and shortly all I know. She's going to give, so she's giving knowledge. By the way, she is the one who does retain or give knowledge. She later on is understood as the one who passes on knowledge. And so she is not only simply a fire bringer and a light bringer, but a knowledge bringer, the idea of gnosis, knowledge. And we're going to see that in the Greek magical papyri. We're going to see that in other sources as well, Chaldaean oracles and so forth, and of course, Platonism. Okay, so there you have it, right? And so then Hecate did said as so, and the daughter of rich-haired Rhea answered her not, but sped swiftly with her, they're together, holding flaming torches in her hands. So they came to Helios the sun, who is watchman of both gods and men, and stood in front of his horses, and the bright goddess inquired of him. Although I want you to understand that Hecate is also known as for her brightness. She glows. She is that which illuminates. I want you to understand that that continues also towards the latter part of antiquity, when she's also known to have a glow and to be really bright. She's connected with the moon that emanates the light arriving from the sun. So, right? So she, in a sense, is impregnated by the light of the sun, but she's also giving birth to the light of that sun through the moon as she reflects it to the earth. So she is both male and female in that aspect, just throwing that one in for free. Well, at the very end of the story, of course, bright coif. I love it. So wait, she has like light hair? Yeah. Oh, okay. I know many of you are going, okay, I'm hair black for Hecate. I gotta go back again. Maybe I did too much, and that's why I'm bald. Okay, so it's okay. You can have black hair, brown hair, blonde hair. The important thing is you got to realize is that all of that fits under her mantle. Right? She's depicted different ways, but a lot of people will say if you're blonde, you can't be a Hecate. You can be anybody. Everybody can be connected to her and don't feel left out because, hey, earliest sources, he has light hair. Okay. So at the very end, bright coiffed Hecate came near to them, and often did she embrace the daughter of holy Demeter. And from that time, the lady Hecate was minister and companion to Persephone. Beautiful, hugging, loving, kind, blessed. There she is. How do you guys feel right now? Huh? You feel pretty good, right? Oh, I almost hate to go further. This is where I kind of like I wish I could skip to the Chaldaean Oracles, because I don't know. Okay, so the groundwork is connections between Persephone and Demeter are connected. And we're going to see that again in the Homeric hymn to Demeter, right? So we'll see some of that too. But let's move on. Hecate is also connected to Hermes, right? And Hermes in the cult of the Thessalian Pherae, as well as Eleusis. Both gods were leaders of spirits of the dead who were associated with the springtime return of Persephone. Well, that makes sense. Now you see where this is coming from. Hecate accompanies Persephone. Persephone, what does she do? Split her time, right? Half the time she's with her mother above the earth. The other half she's below the earth with Hades. Who spends the time with her? Her companion is Hecate. So guess who's going to be in the realm in between? All those realms of, oh yeah, sky, sea, and underworld. Oh no, here it is again. Yeah, she is liminal. She goes into all areas. She accompanies Persephone. So she all is connected in that sense. So that means through Persephone now, building blocks, she must also connect to the underworld, as we know. So why not the dead? Why not the spirits of the dead? Right? So now she's interpreted as being at the threshold in the realm between life and death. It's logical. And you can see the evolution of this idea, but it's still positive. It's not a negative connotation, right? And of course, Epiphagia and Hecate, as I said before, are connected with Artemis, right? Remember? Oh, let's go there. Why not? So the daughter of Agamemnon, Epiphagia, which we now know the whole background to, right? What happens is that I don't even want to say this, but here we go. There is this promise that Epiphagia is going to get married. So she's lured there. Say, hey, would you like to marry Achilles? Why not? The real thing is Agamemnon is planning to sacrifice her to Artemis. Yeah, so it's going to happen. Sacrifice to Artemis. Well, so you don't really see her being, burned alive, to Artemis. So what do we do with that? Well, here it is. According to a fragment known as the Cypria, right, of Hesiod, what happened is that here it is. Calchas then told them of the anger of the goddess. I'm reading from that, and bade them sacrifice Epiphagia to Artemis. This they attempted to do, sending to fetch Epiphagia as though for marriage with Achilles. Artemis, however, snatched her away, and transported her to the Tari. Where's the Tari? That's the Taurus Mountains. Where's the Taurus Mountains? It's in rough Cilicia. Where's that? Anatolia. Oh, okay, we're back there again along the coast. And there's like a mountainous area that kind of dips down. I've been there. Beautiful range, by the way. There's like an opening there, the gates. Anyway, making her, I'm still quoting, making her immortal and putting a stag in place of a girl upon the altar. So she was replaced with a dear, oh dear, a deer, right? A female deer. Okay, you got it. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. Now, the fragment of Hesiod will have an interesting word for her, for this Epiphagia that is rescued by Artemis and brought to the Tari. The word is, of course, it's a form of the word eidolon, which of course means image or phantom. But what happens is Epiphagia becomes connected to a derivative of that word, which is eidulos. What does that mean? Being on the way or in the way. And so Epiphagia, as we know, will then be connected with an image, a phantom, an image that is located on the way, on the road. Hey, look at that, on the road. There is a connection. In fact, who makes this connection? You're thinking I'm just making this up, didn't you? No. His name is Pausanias. I'll pause for a moment on that. He's a geographer. He's a writer. He writes a tour book of Athens. Recommended reading, by the way. And literally, he made the connection. Epiphagia literally becomes, he actually says, it literally becomes Hekate, the triple face goddess of the crossroads. I know that Hesiod, in the catalog of women, represented that Epiphagia was not killed, but by the will of Artemis became, quote, Hecate. Hey, see, I'm not guessing. There it is. And we have other sources too. So this is great. So kind of going through the evolutionary process, though. So we're seeing how these ideas connect. Well, it makes a lot of sense that she's connected to the crossroads because she is about the passageway between different realms. So why not the roads, right? So there you have it. Okay. There is, of course, another connection between with Medea, right? Medea, of course, Hecate is connected there. Hecate was the mortal daughter. According to Diodorus, Hecate was a mortal daughter of the king of Taric, Persephone, who was in turn the son of Helios, and the mother was the notorious witch Medea. We have that source. There's lots of sources going on here. But Apollonius of Rhodes says Hecate was Medea's instructor. Here it goes. Instructor in the arts of witchcraft. We're building. Now we have the Witchcraft Association. Here it goes, right? So the goddess is said to teach her, Medea, be the greatest exploiter of drugs, pharmaca, right? That grew on the dry land and in the full flowing water. This is important. I want to say this because she's still connected to various realms, right? The land, the sea, she's still connected to the sky. What better do you need when it comes to magic than somebody who's connected to all three realms? Is this fascinating? So yeah, it makes sense, right? Complete sense. And of course goes on. It says with these drugs, she extinguishes the blast of the unwearied flame. With these, she stays the noisy course of rivers and binds stars. There's the heavenly aspect, I said that earlier, there it is. And the paths of the sacred moon, sky, earth, and the sea. She still has an aspect. Things are still pretty good, but she is now more and more being connected with magic, right? But, and of course, Medea, you can see where the connection, Medea, remember that going back? So you see all these derivations. You're probably learning way too much. But anyway. So Medea advises Jason on a spell, and of course it is connected to Hecate. Ovid will also make the connection that, in fact, in his version that's connected to Medea, he has Medea say, Hecate of the three heads, who knows all about my designs and come to help the incantations and the craft of the mages. So now she's starting to be connected more and more to magicians. So it's happening. Here we go. So we do have her also connected with various animals too, like the weasel. You're wondering why is Hecate connected with the weasel? Well, it's the connection to Galathias. The Galathias. This was a maiden. She's like a playmate of Alcmene. That's the daughter of Electron. Basically, this is the one that is going to be giving birth to Hercules. So anyway, so she's the playmate, and what happens is that, well, unfortunately, Alcmena, she gets pregnant, and the Fates and Aletheia, or the birth goddess, they're kind of on Hera's side. They don't want her to give birth because they think it's going to be a son. So what they do is Morai and Aletheia, what they do is they ritually close their legs so that poor thing, Alcmena can't give birth. So she's gonna have these really bad birth pains. I mean, she's gonna feel like labor pains, a lot of pain. And then what happens is that there's a reason why I'm telling you the story. Don't worry. Galantheus, she goes up to them, and she says, "Good news! She gave birth to a girl." And they're thinking of son, and they're thinking maybe Hercules. So they stop that ritual magic of closing their legs. And of course, as a result, Alcmena is able to give birth to Hercules. Of course, they find out you don't trick a goddess, let alone, four. You're gonna Morai, right? So what they do is they turn her into a polycat. They turn her into a deceitful weasel. And here we go. There's a reason why I'm telling the story. Hecate feels sorry for her. What? Yeah, she feels sorry for her about her transformation and her appearance. And so she appointed her as a special servant to herself because she didn't think that was fair. Oh, yeah. So this kind of tells you more about her character, right, as a goddess. And I know I'm looking at my time; it's going away so fast. But we're all having a blast, aren't we? Right, right. So let's talk about this. So now more and more she gets connected to the underworld, and you start forgetting the higher levels in many cases. The night realm, the realm of phantoms, sorcery, and she's connected to the roads, as we already know, especially that cross each other. Right? But she has also many different companions that stay with her, as I mentioned. Uh, she is connected. Oh, here's one little story you may not know. In some cases, she has three bodies with three heads, and one is a horse, the second is a dog, and the third is a lion. You're thinking about these connections. Of course, the horse has this Poseidon feel to it, right? The Earthshaker feel to it, this earthly aspect to it. You know, the dog, that's a little curious. The lion, of course, comes from the majestic Kimberley tradition, right? The Anatolian tradition where lions are important. They call her sometimes a three-headed monster. So you have that, right? And they will say that she doesn't have any offspring, that she's a virgin, that nothing can come from this. Well, so she's sometimes depicted wearing a maiden's knee-length dress in some cases, right? Others say that she had offspring, like Scylla, for example, right? And others as well. So it's kind of up in the air. Hecate is also connected with the Chaldaean nymphs, Perseus and Medea. So we have that possibility. And by the way, I got to say that she's connected to servants that are offsprings in her, in a sense, later on with the Chaldaean Oracles, as well as Neoplatonism that help the vortices. But anyway, that's a whole other story. Hecate was known as the Phosphorus. Phosphorus, what is that? She is the light bearer, right? She carries the torches in both hands. The roots of this tradition can be traced back to, again, the Minoans and the Mycenaeans. You can see this. In fact, Eleutheria, right, has very ancient roots, especially in Lycian Artemis, right, was shown as the fire-bearing one, as we know. In fact, there's even an inscription, CIG 6797, where they mention the Cretan lady of Ephesus, known as the light bearer. And so there you have it. It's fascinating. In fact, we see the light bearing connection even at the island of Lemnos, which, by the way, is right between Anatolia and Europe, and connected to Venice. It's also connected to the Thracian Artemis, connected with Hecate, yes, and of course you can see the connections there. Fascinating stuff. Okay, so one little interesting tidbit, and I found this in Athenaeus and Bibliosophist. This is fascinating. Yeah, phosphorus. Many scholars will say phosphorus is connected to the word Bosphorus because Hecate, Byzantine Hecate, we have lots of sources on her being worshipped as connected to the liminal spaces in between what? Straits, right? Between Asia and Europe. Oh, yeah, no wonder you have that connection. Even when we get back into Agamemnon, this idea of crossing the threshold and the Artemis stuff, and you have Aphrodisia, and oh boy. So we may have phosphorus connected to the word Bosphorus. So, but again, it just depends. These Greeks, they come up with lots of these words that connect together. They mean not, but I just still think it's very interesting. And the idea of holding two torches, we see this also very much so with Artemis. And I look at a coinage of Artemis, like at Ephesus and other places. I see her depicted pretty much the same as Hecate, with those two torches, one in each hand. She's also connected to lamps, right? And this connects to the Eleusinian mysteries. So she is one that's the enlightener of the mysteries through her light. She brings about an understanding, the deeper mysteries. And of course, that goes into the idea of katabasis as well. She holds a dagger. We have a lot of that. The Argonaut, of course, Hecate is described with a blade that cut the Caucasian herb, right? And Medea cuts the throat of a ram when he sacrifices to Hecate, right? So we see this, of course, the killing of the black sheep with the same kind of blade. You have the keys of Hecate, right? She holds the keys. What was she hold? She is, in fact, she's understood as the key holder. Back in the Orphic hymn to Hecate, right? She is key holding mistress of the whole world. She opens up the gates of the underworld and decides who goes to the Eleusinian fields. Well, that kind of makes sense, right? Because she's connected to the underworld. Now you know why. Why not just give her the keys? You're going to see references to this idea of keys that becomes proverbial to any god or spirit that holds a connection to the underworld aspect. Hecate is mainly the idea. It's funny because you'll find within the Christian tradition, you'll have the idea where you have Jesus, of course, holding the keys. This is the idea of, as opposed to Hecate or the underworld spirit holding, or God holding the keys. So this idea just kind of floats around, right? She also has a scepter. She wears this diadem. It's pretty beautiful. It's a golden scepter, right? She has a prominent headband, right? So we have that too, a shining headband on bright coiffed or Hecate. So again, she's a pretty bright figure, So she's connected to saffron. That's holy to her. Saffron, of course, was used to dye cloth in red and yellow colors, but saffron is connected with her. That's fascinating because the Minoans were very much into saffron. It's holy to them in connection to and the Mycenaeans according to their spirits. So we have that. He was crowned sometimes with oak leaves and coiled with wild serpents, right? So we have lots of things. Okay, so sometimes she's a psychopomp, right? She is connected to the crossroads. I want to make sure I get to someplace. So that's kind of moving ahead. I'm only at page 17 of 55 pages. So there's a lot here. But I want to make sure that you understand what we're going through. So I'm just taking my time. When time is out, so it is. I just want you to understand that she gets connected to the three-way crossings. Of course, you have Sophocles and his root eaters, Lord Helios, holy fire, sword of Hecate of the roads, which carries over Olympus as she attends and as she traverses the sacred crossroads of the land, crowned with oak and woven coils of snakes falling on her shoulders. But she is connected to the crossroads. Of course, obviously, Virgil says in the Aeneid, Hecate, whose name is howled by night at the city crossroads, right? Even in the 4th century, we have in the Greek magical papyrus, it mentions the idea that the crossroads are sacred to Hecate and magic. In fact, this magic says, take a triangle potsherd from the place where the 3 roads meet. And that's used for a magical record, magical usage. Sometimes she has 4 heads, not a forehead. She always has that, but she has 4 heads. Just saying. So we see this also. This connects to the elements. So you're going to have, for example, the horse. The horse head is connected to fire, right? The bull is connected to air. The hydra, the water, the dog. Here we go. Connected to the symbolism of the dog is the earth. There we go. So that means that there are going to be sacrifices, unfortunately, dogs, when they do ceremonies to the underworld, because the dog is connected to the underworld, and howlers that attend or with Hecate, as they talk about when Hecate approaches. Now you have a howling and the barking of dogs. And you can always detect there. Yes, things are getting darker, unfortunately. So, but there we have it. Hekate, of course, is connected to the lunar goddess. And we, of course, the moon. The moon is important. So she is the intermediary between the moon and the sun, between the sensible and eligible worlds, right? Okay, well, we have also asked other aspects. Let's talk about, because we got to get there. Let's be pragmatic. Why not? So I'm going to give you some practical aspects of Hecate. On the 30th of the month, when the sun catches up with the moon, they come together. Typically, a flat cake with candles on it was offered to Hecate. That's a day. Yep. So before that, on nights when the moon was in the final quarter, offerings of cake and fish and eggs and cheese, they were offered at the three-way crossings. So where's my source? Quite a few, but I'll just say Athenaeus and his Dipnosophists. He says a flat cake dedicated to Artemis, having lighted candles all about it. Of course, later on, you find out it is the one that is the amphibiaphon, which is the idea of connected to Artemis Hecate. Also, just for fun, they also offered cupcakes. Cupcakes, yeah. So, and I have the recipe here if you want. Honey, sifted flour, eggs. Yeah, Anyway, there you have it. Now, fish was also offered too. And because remember, she's connected to these liminal spaces and she's connected to fishermen and they prayed to her. And so, yes, obviously fish are going to be connected to her. And some people connect this to going back to Artagatus, but, we can go there later if you wanted to. The red mullet is considered sacred to her. But you can't eat it because, they thought that it turned red because it ate bodies, and it was the blood that's in the mullet that turned it red. So don't do that. Eggs, by the way, if you're wanting to know, they're connected to purification, and they're raw eggs. So if you hard boil the eggs, you just ruin it. so these are the meals served. What are they? They described it as a dipmon. This meal was served to Hecate, as I said, once a lunar month. It's the last day. In fact, if you guys want to know the exact time, I'll go ahead and give it to you. Plutus mentions it is observed at when the first visible sliver of the moon can be seen. How's that for exact? That's when you make the offering. There are a few reasons why they observed this meal. First, of course, Hecate was the liminal goddess of these various places. She's the boundary between life and death. So she is to be honored. She's to be appeased as well because she literally holds the space. Second, of course, under her charge were those souls that kind of long for vengeance. And they want to get out. Hey, remember she holds the keys? So you got to make some kind of offering to make sure that they don't get out, right? So you don't want them coming back there. The third is that this is how you are purified. Your family, members of your family, are purified through this ritual. These are pretty much all good reasons to do this activity. So the ritual contains the sacred meal that's placed near the crossroad. Second thing is, of course, you make the offering. And the third, of course, the household is purified. As I said, fish, raw eggs, cheese, leeks and onions too. However, not all families are near a three-way crossing. They're not all close. So it was kind of far from their home. I love how humanity changes things around. Your door threshold is kind of a three-way crossing because you walk out and kind of spreads out the other side. So if you're kind of a lazy, Hecate worshiper, you just go to your threshold and you could do your offering there. Now, however, when you make the offering, you're not to look at it. So you turn around and you walk away, and that's it. That's over, right? Um, uh, so many Greeks don't even venture out in the evening because they don't want to come across not only their offering, but somebody else's at the crossroad because it's forbidden. It's taboo to observe it. Taboo for everybody except for, I love this, if you're hungry, if you're starving. What? Again, generosity. What do you mean? Yeah, if you're hungry or you're starving, as we know from Plutarch and his Moralia, for example, and Aristophanes as well, right? Ask Hecate whether it is better to be rich or starving. She will tell you that the rich send her a meal every month. This is food placed inside her door front shrines, and that the poor make it disappear before it is even served. Unquote. And so so the idea is she doesn't curse them. She wants them to eat it. So this is food for those who are hungry, who sometimes even travelers are allowed to have some, right? So that's why you kind of wonder maybe Paul, the apostle, mentioned that maybe it's not so bad to eat food as sacrificed to idols because he's a traveler, and all those hungry travelers, you want to throw a little snack along the road, and hey, there's a lot of that there. By the way, in the Johannine tradition, you eat food sacrificed to idols, you're in trouble. Of course, for Paul, it's like just don't be caught, dining in the temple, eating that. But it's on the road, nobody sees. Have a snack. Yes, have an egg snack. Okay, so is this helpful? Right. Okay, so that means that she cares for the poor. She's given them sustenance. All right. Now, of course, you also have an inside ritual. Oh yeah, of course you have that too. The inside ritual. The first part is, of course, you fumigate, you clean the space up, right? Usually with a clay censer, just kind of put it everywhere. And then, of course, after that, you remove all the offerings that were placed in the altar beforehand. It has to be completely clean, nothing there. Only then. Oh, by the way, if you drop something on the floor, it's Hecate's. You don't pick it up. So that's the rock there, because that's to be offered up to her. Okay, but you clean it all up. Then, of course, uh, um, you know, uh, then of course you make the offering. And after making the offering, then you make sure you clean it completely up again, and you do purification. Okay, well, we talked. We're almost out of time, but I do want to go a few different places. I just want to mention that yes, she's connected to bulls. She's connected to doggies. I don't. I'm glad, very happy that I won't have to talk about dog sacrifice because that's really sad. But I do have all about it if you're interested. Because I told you dogs are connected to the earth, and at Ephesus, I was there in 2008 when they discovered a site dedicated to Hecate up on Mount Pion, and and of course they found inscriptions connected to the sacrifice of dogs to Hecate. That's just part of it, unfortunately. But I mean, she does love dogs. I mean, what happens is the dogs get sacrificed. You know what they go to? They go to her, and she takes care of them. So I know it's hard for you to think this way because I do too. I have a dog here. The dog's not too happy with me right now, and, I think she's saying something. Okay, anyway, so no, it's meant to. Uh, she's kind of like a messenger. The dogs are messengers, and that's supposed to be a good thing. She's connected to wolves as well, untamed ones, wild ones, obviously. She's connected to horses, like with the horse head aspect. She's connected to dragons, or drakon, as in, basically huge, gigantic water snake. So that's what she's connected to. So, and we talked about the saffron connection, and she's connected to bronze, and she's connected to iron, especially in magical rituals. And of course, there's something called Hekate magic that she's connected to. Of course, it requires certain kinds of atmospheres, and then certain kinds of actions and certain words. But we don't have time to go through all that, unfortunately. And then, of course, you're going to have the Greek magical papyri, which I have, of course, 15 pages on. But we don't have time to talk all about that. I do want to talk about the fact that still in the Greek magical papyri, there is a charm of Hekate Erishkigal that has survived, that has the famous words aske, kataske, ase, edion, ax, etetragon, thrak, right? The Ephesian letters, right? And that really does parallel Lucian's descent of Nippus into Hades, right? And basically, it is a formula for ritual descent, ritual descent that goes all the way down, right? The spell follows, I have been initiated. I went down into the underground chamber of the dactyls, and I saw the other things down below, virgin, bitch, and all the rest. Now you're supposed to say it at the crossroads. I'm still reading it. And turn around and flee, because it is at those places that she appears. Saying it at late at night, it will reveal it in your sleep. And if you are led away to death, say it while scattering seeds of sesame, and it will save you. So this is could also connect to a mystery religion. It's a ritual of descent, of death, and renewal in life. Anyways, she is the one who saves. So she is a salvic aspect, or she's Hekate Soterea, and she is used by that epithet. Okay, so she is connected to salvation. Not the dark talk that you thought you're going to get, is it? Right? It's pretty light. I still have a few minutes, and the good news is, it is good news, is that because I started late, you guys are going to give me a few more minutes, aren't you? Yes, you are. I know you are. Not that much. Don't worry. I just want to make sure that we get to the happy conclusion, right? So as we get to the Greco-Roman area, so we get to the, I just want to mention that, first of all, Lagina, if you ever have a chance to go to Turkey, visit Lagina. It's worth it. There is a big temple there, and there is even was a procession between Lagina and a nearby town, and there's even a key holding celebration. Yeah, they actually take the keys of Hecate, and they ritually do have a procession from one place to the other. You got to also understand that. Here we go. Oh wow. Okay, if you want to ask me questions on Artemis and the Ephesians and Hecate, I will talk about that later during questions, because I wrote a book on it. It's published. It's on Amazon. So it's called Artemis and the Ephesians, and I go in depth in the connection to Hecate in those chapters. So, but I don't have a lot of time there. I will just say, as I'm turning pages like you cannot believe at a very fast pace, that the Ephesian Artemis is directly connected to Hecate. Long story, exceedingly short, is that you have sacred places throughout Ephesus. You have the site of the Temple of Artemis, which was the site of a sacred tree, which of course is connected to the Amazons. There's an image that was located there, and that has connections to the goddess Hybele. Then on the opposite side of Mount Pion, there's a mountain in between the two, you have the Ortygian Gardens. That's connected to Leto and giving birth to Artemis and Apollo. In between that, you have this mountain by the name of Mount Pion that's dedicated to the Great Mountain Mother. Around Mount Pion, they had a cemetery. A cemetery used to be there, and what they did is they worship Hecate in connection to that circular cemetery around that mountain. Yes. And so you can see through the Temple of Artemis to the mountain and then to Ortygian Gardens, you're going to have Hecate being connected via its geographical location. That's why they discovered the Temple of Hecate on top of Mount Pion. They also discovered a temple. So there's also a Temple of Hecate, according to Pliny the Elder, at the site of the Temple of Artemis of the Ephesians. They still haven't found it yet. I know exactly where it is, so I'm trying to convince them to start digging there. I took pictures of the area. You got to do sounding here. Are you crazy? Anyway, And so what they did is they used to have processions going from the temple. It was a circular one around Mount Pion, okay? And there was altars around it, and they would do various utterances to appease the world above, the world below, and of course, obviously the realm of the sea, which is the harbor area. Then there's a triadis on the opposite side. That's where the Library of Celsus is. You know what they call it? They call it the triadis. And if you look at the Mausius Mithridates gate, you'll realize it's called the triadis of Hecate. And there's even graffiti of Hecate all over the place dedicated to Hecate. It's like it's everywhere. Okay, so there you have it. Then I have, of course, a list of over 100 different names of Hecate, actually 200 names of Hecate in Greek, as well as what they mean, if you want that. But I want to close on this. One last note, which will take just a few minutes. Hecate. She kind of descends a little bit because of the magic aspect, because people don't always utilize her the way she should be. In fact, the fact that they're utilizing her at all is a problem, right? She becomes objectified in the worst sense. And so they're thinking that if they do certain things, that she will just do magic for them. Good news with the Chaldaean Oracles and with Neoplatonism, the Thogony, it's not working anymore. And the idea is, if you want something done, you don't tell Hecate what to do. You ask her. And you ask her in a kindly and a loving way with devotion. And she, in a sense, is revived as a result, almost to be the goddess that she was prior to all of this. So she is known for her virtues. She is connected again to the realm of power. She is power. So you have this concept, right? You have the monad, the one, right? That emanates out. And then you have, of course, the second intellect, right? And then, then of course, that has that knowledge aspect. And then, of course, connected to that is you have the world soul, which they call Hecate, of course, right? And she is the nurturing world soul. She is the cosmic soul. She connects way earlier to Plato's cosmic soul, but of course they go a little bit further on this. Even though I do have to say, give Plato, even Middle Platon's credit, she's connected to the world soul pretty early on, but it gets really developed. Now, you got to have connections between the realm above and the realm below. They call, of course, they call them the depths, and or they call these the vortices, or the whirl swirls. I love that. The whirl swirls. We should just use that. And so what this is, these are little passageways that go from the realm above through the liminal space of the cosmic soul, which is Hecate, and then comes to us. So the Thurgist, what they do is they pray like a tornado, right? What will happen is certain spots are vortices, where are holy spots that they could do the rituals, or they do enough rituals and the vortice moves like a tornado, moves to that area, and they make a connection, a magical connection between, of course, obviously through Hecate, all the way through to the monad. And so she is the intercessor that goes in between. And she is known as the all-fiery one. She is also known kindly that these openings, passageways, are really like breasts. Yeah, there, and it nurtures us, it feeds us. She has also servants. They're called Inges. Yeah, Inges. Iynges. Now you're learning mysteries that most people have never heard of. The Inges, these are connected to, they're basically maintainers, right? And they occupy 3 different realms, and they are the servants of Hecate. In some cases, they are the offsprings of Hecate. They are her helpers. And so what happens is that each of the Inges, they are actual magic words. So what you ask for, you know, they are that. And then that idea goes through these vortices, goes through Hecate, goes through the second intellect, goes into the monad, the first intellect, and the connection is made. But you always have to ask. Most people don't know, I've never heard this before. But, yeah. Okay, so what happens now? And this is where I want to close our talk. Oh, I could do a whole talk just on this, and I have. But I can't do this. So, but I want to say this. Here we go. Here we close. Is that she is also known as the flowering flower. Beautiful. She is considered dazzling in beauty. And sometimes they call her the savior, Sotorea, that because she's able to be in this liminal space, once again restored between the realm of the sky, the sea, and the land. Isn't that beautiful? It restores it again. The tripartite aspect of her that was originally intended, it comes about once again. Because of that, one can communicate back and forth through these vortices, through this channel, and she's loving and she's kind. And then what will happen is that if you do the ritual, she can guarantee you salvation in the next world. So she is a salvic Hekate. And sometimes she goes through the Ingus, but sometimes she goes directly to you. Here we go. This is where we close. So in the Chaldaean Oracles, Hekate sometimes goes, you know what? I'm going to appear to you directly, you Thurgist, who are asking kindly for my appearance. And so even though she is understood as the formless fire, her voice emerges out. Sometimes what will happen is that she will appear. This is so cool. She'll appear like lightning in the sky, the dark sky. And the oracles then describe this goddess, and she will descend. And she'll be dressed in full armor and bearing weapons, the weapons being metaphors for the knowledge of Thurgry, right? And she will arise and look at you as brilliant and radiant as the moon reflecting off the sun. And she will give knowledge for the ascension of the soul. And so she ends as a great nature goddess of the three realms. And her conclusion, late antiquity, is a brilliant one if you are a Neoplatonist. And I think that's a perfect way to end this talk. Thank you so much. All right. I'm done. Did you guys enjoy yourselves? Yeah.
Yay!
Yay. Yeah. Do you feel like you understand her a little bit more?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you kindly, sir.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lester, for being here. And Michael and everybody else. So.
Somebody in the UK got up at 3:30 in the morning to listen to this.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being here from the UK.
So worth it.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. You can. I just want to say that I really think that she needs to be rehabilitated. The image. It's ridiculous because you go through the sources, and I go through the primary sources, and I find more positive than negative stuff about her. And the interesting thing is, we always focus on the negative, and I think we're still clouded in that way, and I think that's still the presence of patriarchy. Unbeknownst to ourselves, we're thinking, hey, we're free of this, and then we make her so dark when she's very, very light, kind, and yeah. In fact, the funny thing is, she's kind of the misfit. Think about this, huh? Oh, yeah. So she's kind of the misfit. She kind of breaks the rules. I like that because so all the other goddesses they're gonna punish this person or do this to somebody, and she goes, oh, okay, I'll give them a chance. I'll help them out. I mean, caring for the poor. I think that's pretty good. Everybody else can't eat the food, but all the poor can. Oh, she was mean. She'd say nobody, right? Anyway,
Yeah,
sorry.
actually, I've often wondered like what in practice people did in past, historical points where offerings were common, like what happened to the offerings in different cultures. So that was really interesting. I didn't know that.
It'd be the bellies of the poor and the pilgrim. Yeah, it's a nice way of providing for the hungry. It really is.
It was really cool.
Yeah, just don't let those eggs be on the sun too long. And you kind of wonder about those cakes too. I mean, hey, it looks like the poor are going to get some pastry too, right? And why not? But only at the end of the month for that one, right? Any questions? Any questions? Can I answer all your questions for you?
There a relationship between Hecate and Prometheus, who is also kind of a light bearer known for compassion towards mankind?
Yeah, and of course, this is a good topic, by the way. The Titans didn't fare very well with the rise of the Olympians, and there were exceptions. And of course, one was Prometheus, and one was Hecate. But guess what Prometheus did? Yeah, he blew it, right? He took the fire from heaven and gave it to humanity. So it was not good. So that was the end of that, right? So there is so she's like the last Titan standing. Not really. There's some other Titans that got away too. But she is honored. Get this, she's honored above all the others. By Zeus, according to Hesiod. So in the 700, she's still way up there because she did not, and I didn't bring this up, she really alone did not betray Zeus. Meanwhile, Zeus took a whole bunch of the other Titans and locked them up into chambers under the earth. There are stories about the 7 or 9 different chambers under the earth that is connected to Pythagorean stories that are their mysteries. Yeah, but she didn't betray him. So yeah, no wonder she is brought up and seen as such a positive goddess, even within the Olympian context. Although she's not mentioned in the Iliad or the Odyssey, right? So, but the Aeneid we do. Any other questions?
Jessica,
I have so many.
Huh?
Suggested reading materials.
Suggested reading materials. You know what? Might read the poems I mentioned. I'm kind of, I hate to say this, read the primary sources. I didn't get this talk from secondary sources. You know that. You saw that. You saw that for the most part, it's a gathering of primary sources put together, because I have discovered that this lecture would never happen the way it did if I consulted a lot of secondary sources, because most of it will focus in on her darker imagery, and they also don't do a very good job when it comes to the evolution of Hecate. There's a few good ones. There is, I think her name is Soreta, S-O-R-I-T. Yeah, she's good. Maybe read her work. She's a good one. And there's a few others, but it's sad, right? It really is sad. I wish there's more. There's a few articles, I can find them a little bit later. I don't have them here. There's a few good articles on her. They're academic articles, but I would say start with the primary sources. It's easy to do. You just do a word search, look up Hecate, and find like Hesiod. Start off with that. Go into the Homeric hymns. Read that first, and then read commentaries in relation to them. So from there, the next step where you go is read books pertaining to those sources and those sources alone. Then all of a sudden, you're going to get a better impression. But what I skip is the Greek magical papyri, which I have over here. It gets bad. It really gets bad. There's some good parts. The Katabasis is good, but yeah, there's some bad parts too, which I have here. Of course I have here. Of course I have here. Yeah, it gets into more of a darker magic. And this is what I was talking about, is that the Katabasis of Hekate Ritual, it's not too bad. That's good. And you have a few others that are really good too. But there are a few where she becomes an object. The moment she becomes a magical object, I think that's the moment where the line is crossed. So you kind of have to watch out for those. So, but yeah, she has lots of names too. Like I said, I have lots of. I'm going over there to the. If you guys are interested in the Greek magical papyri, I feel it. So I'm going to go over there and take a look around here. Get there. I'm just flipping through pages. Oh, also she mixes with Jewish magic. So yeah. In fact, I have a Jewish magical spell. You guys want to hear it?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. This is from the 2nd century. Aletheia, Kor, Oreobasgora, Hekate, a tail-eating, moon, Ithbe. We devote these people to evil. Body, spirit, soul, intellect, reflection, perception, life, with Hecatean words and Hebraic oaths. Justice, earth, Hekate, under the command of the holy names and Hebraic oaths, hair, head, brain, face, ears, eyebrows, jaws, teeth, soul, health, burned flesh, groan at what he suffers. I adjure the triple moon, middle of the night, whatever nurtured and the divine, running through the heavens, strong-handed, observable, blue-robed, at land and sea, and Doya, we deposit these people with you. We register them for, I'll just say, I'll separate the words, so it doesn't sound like I'm doing a spell. For punishments, conversational. Penalties, conversational. And revenge, a thing devoted to evil. Anyway, so I told you they get a little dark. That's pretty dark. So they're basically cursing every part from your head all the way down. Yeah. I told you, but it's Jewish. So they have Jewish symbols on it and everything else. They all kind of come together. You also have love spells too. So you have that. And of course, here's one. There's ones against slander. Yeah, you got those two. Ones to send dreams. You got ones. There's a few good ones that talk about her as mother of all things. So you do have some respectful Greek magical papyri. I would say, and it's probably this is very fair to say this. I'd say about half the magic is problematic, and the other is not. I'd say about half and half. That's what I think, because again, if you're using Hekate as an object, but if you're asking her, that's different. And so the magical papyri go both ways. But some of these, here's a love spell to cause a lover to lie awake for me for all eternity. It's kind of a long time. Oh, by the way, here's another source I just saw. His name is Betz, B-E-T-Z. So that's another great source. And I recommend going through that as well. You have, like I said, I have 15 pages of Greek magical papyri. And what I mean I have 15 pages, I have the entire magical spell that's written out. But I used her for everything. But the problem is you just have the rituals, and sometimes there's lots of killing of various animals, and that kind of upsets people. Animal sacrifice. Black sheep is very popular. Dogs are popular. Bulls are another one that's popular quite a bit. A lot of these are connected to the earth aspect, and that's because she is the key holder between the realms. And but what will happen is that some of the later Greek magical papyri, it goes two ways. That's what mentioned this. They either get darker or they get lighter. They either become more mystical and philosophical that seem to connect to mystery religions and various rituals, or they seem to be spread out amongst the more base members of society who just want to have something and want to have it now. So that's the best way to put it. I think that's fair. You think that's fair? Yeah. Any other questions on magic or mischief? Magic or mischief? We could do both.
Not on either of those, but I did have a question.
Sure.
So I know you said that she represents the three realms: earth, water, air, ground, underground. Sorry, it's here.
Yeah, the underworld, the realm of the sea.
The three,
the
realms of the boundaries. And each animal represents, you said that the horse represents the sea, the dog represents the earth. So therefore, do you think the lion represents the air? And if so, how?
Yeah, I actually will go here right now. The lion represents the sun. In fact, we will see that on the sarcophagi. If you see the symbol of the sun, the lion with its mane represents the rays of the sun around it.
So the heavens, the up above.
Heavens, yes, heavens above.
There you go.
So there it is. It's the sun.
Thank you.
And she is the moon, of course, reflects the sun. And you'll see crescents also on all the images too. Yeah. Any other questions?
What did you say the name of her servants are, Angus?
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and go further with that if you want. I was hoping to get all the way to the details of them. Yeah. So they are called. You have the IYNGES. Okay, so literally they're Ingus. They are they're daemons. Some cases they know them as they're understood as ferrymen. They're ferrying information. They transmit all things from the noetic sphere to the material sphere and then back again. They are messengers like Hermes, right? They form a triad. So there's like three different aspects of them, and they are understood as maintainers along with the other maintainers. These daemons, they could be good or bad or irrational. They appeared during the ceremonies, having the ability to convert the soul. These mediating creatures live in the intelligible world, and they're characterized by power. And of course, as you see that, so that's Ingus. We also have the word itself derives from a bird, which is known as a wryneck. And it's interesting that they would have an image of this bird that was sometimes put on a wheel that they would spin around. That wasn't real mystical here. So these and so this wheel was also is called an inks. So in fact, I even have an inks magic spell here, but we're not going to go there.
Oh.
So yeah, but anyway, yeah. So the wheel was again, this represents the energy, the power of Hecate. Yeah. So, but they are also known as intellectual supports, right? Intellectual supports. So they again connect from above to below. Actually, they're sometimes they're expanded, and they're connected with the various planetary spheres, and so they represent those kind of powers. In other cases, especially when they're problematic, they are also known as sirens. But an interesting bit, this Plato refers to them as they're like sirens, as riding upon 8 cosmic spheres. So they are known to make music, found. Ooh, that cool. So they're each of their they're connected to the astral spheres. They have music. It's almost like music of the spheres, right? And their music, they sing, and their names. Each one of their names represents an idea. So each of their names is a magical idea, a magical word. You say the word, and that connects to this mystical being, who then comes to you during rituals in which you're asking questions, or you're wanting something, but you're asking. Well, why are they good, bad? Because sometimes you gotta ask for things that may not be that good. So you think that you have to call upon something that's a little darker. Okay, let's see here. Sometimes the Ingas are connected to angels. I know that sounds strange, but there is a realm between angelology and the Ingas because they are messengers too. And they're messengers of above to below. And so as we get to the Christian realm, they're merely angels that connect to something that's higher. She's the great virgin, after all, who was burdened below. Well, that connect to Artemis of the Ephesians, but it also connects to the Virgin Mary. Virgin Mary, who we do have in certain cosmologies, connected to the world soul. And there you have that connection there. So okay, I went there, didn't I?
Oh, I loved it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? I told you we're going to be digging in deep today.
I have kind of a comment, if I could go again. I'm fascinated with the crossroads concept that keeps coming up in your lecture. And, just from my knowledge, it just must have really perturbed all of our ancestors because the concept comes up everywhere you look, like all sorts of cultures. I mean, in England, fairies would haunt the crossroads. It comes up in Asian history, African history. Even I think there was like a blues guitarist in the 30s who supposedly got his blues guitar skills from selling his soul. Yeah. It's just amazing. It must have really struck a chord with people.
It sure does. Yeah. And this taps into just these ancient beliefs and customs. And there are so many explanations for the symbolism of the triadis, of the three-way crossing. It becomes exhaustive. Sometimes they say, well, the final prong is the mystical prong that you don't see. And that's where the image is. So she is at the threshold, so you have the road, and you have the fork, and then she's at right there, holding the passageway to the other realm. And you're going to see that happening. Now, once again, we'll bring back Ephesus. So this is what happens at Ephesus. At Ephesus, what they will do is at the triadis, they will build a gate, a portal to that extra prong that goes forth. So the Mausis Mithridates gate was that at the triadis. And then what will happen is when they built an agora, commercial agora there, that was fine, but when they blocked it up, processions couldn't go through there anymore. So they built another triadis further up the street during the time between Hadrian and between Trajan and Hadrian. And that triadis then went to the Ortega Gardens. So once again, so you do have this idea that she is at that threshold area, and mystically, the liminal area she carries on to the other side. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's the ancient idea as we see through archaeology. And then,
I think from a practical standpoint too, like a crossroads back in the day, if you're traveling, a lot of those trickster gods would point you in the wrong direction.
They will.
And back in the day, traveling was dangerous. If you went the wrong way at a crossroads, you could be days out of your journey. So
yes.
It's a dangerous crossing point.
It's a time to pray. That's why you need herms there too. In other cases, right? Protecting travelers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have Hekate as well as Hermes, right? Protecting messengers and travelers, and that needs to be done. So these are great prayer points. Like pray the right way, and pray there's not somebody hiding, at this crossroads.
No GPS. No
GPS. Yeah. You go the wrong way. That's it. And that happens.
Yep.
The crossroads are a dangerous place. If we just look at any literature, almost civilizations, people are panicked about what's waiting at the crossroads. Yeah, because and there's a reason why. It's a real boring one. Here's a real boring reason why. Especially when we get to the time of wheeled traffic, like chariots, you have to turn. right? And when you turn, you're vulnerable, right? Yeah.
You can be attacked.
Yeah, it's a perfect time because
by the marauders.
Straight, you have to build momentum, but when you're at a crossroad, you got to slow on down. You're forced to slow down, and you go whoa, whoa, even with your horses, right? Whoa, whoa, and then you have to turn left, turn right, and that's the perfect time for people to get you, right?
Yep.
As opposed to zooming on by.
It reminds me of like traveling out west in the old American days, like when when you'd have to cross over like a creek or something, your wagon would be in danger, and you could break a wheel or something.
Yep. Yeah, and that's where you would break a wheel. Is those
precarious.
Yeah. And also the other part is at crossroad when it comes to drainage, sometimes becomes problematic too. So you're going to have lots of dips and other areas that will kind of throw off your wheels. There are reasons, because remember, everybody's turning there. And they're all turning there. But it's a paved road, you're going to get ruts. And there's going to be more weight on that, physics. And then again, your wheel will come off.
You need Hecate to help you.
Hecate will help you. Yeah, or Hermes, right? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. She's pretty helpful. She's not as dark as people say she is. She's, there is a dark aspect, but from the perspective of ancient times, you still have this. She's there to watch after you. Yeah. There's
the duality,
Yeah. Well, yeah, because she's connected to the realm of death. Then again, Hades is connected to the realm of death. He doesn't do anything that's too evil, right? He's not evil in a Judeo-Christian sense, and he loves Persephone, and they're down there, and he's doing judgment, and it's like, hey, Elysian Fields. I mean, that's he's deciding these things, or through his judges, right? Or Tartarus, he's meting out punishments for the evil and giving rewards for the good. I don't think that's and then meanwhile, Hecate is in the realm of above and below. She's transitional. She's the one that keeps all those spirits from haunting us, right? Coming back from the grave. So hey, that's a bonus, right?
Sure.
So and as long as you remember to do it once a month. On the 30th day, at the sliver of the moon, so I could see some of you going, okay, we're waiting for the sliver. Because we're going to do it exactly at that time. Yeah. But any other questions?
I'm actually really curious about your take on the conflation between Hecate and Selene in the PGN. I actually think it's really beautiful.
It's
because
really
it
beautiful.
Describes like almost a there's almost a paradoxical element to how there's the dark and there's also this wonderfully beautiful aspect of her where she's both, and she can be both as needed.
Yes. Well, she is the light shining in the darkness. She is the moon shining in the night, and so she is giving light of knowledge. She's giving light. Think about it. We have a moonless night, right? So we want moon night is a good thing because it does give us light. I think the ancient world. So thank you, Selene, for as full as you can get, right? And there's a poetic aspect of the Greek magical papyri between the two, and you see their names being used interchangeably throughout it, as you probably already know. But there's a realm within poetry. Those are the good ones. Those are the good spells. where Selene is. But then you're going to have, of course, others too connected to her. Richkagal is another one as well. You'll have darker ones. But I do, yes, absolutely. And there's a lot of literature on Selene. I have another section on that too. And I think that we also have, I think they split. In what happens is that the two are connected to each other, but the magical traditions still retained it, but she loses the Selene aspect, and then it comes back especially when we get to the Chaldaean Oracles again and Neoplatonism. All of a sudden, she's bright and strong again and true, and that Selene aspect comes through, and that moon aspect comes through. But there's a dimming of the moon, so to speak, and I can even tell you exactly when. First century, first century BCE, first century CE. Not a great time for Hecate. Looking at a lot of the sources, it gets a little better, but that was dark, and you're going to have even some Christian apologists kind of going off on this one later on as well. But things get better. But you do have two different realms. You have the magical realm, and then you have the realm of the Chaldean and Middle and Neoplatonism. And so it becomes intellectualized here, Hecate, while here she still holds on to a very materialistic conception, where half the time she is used as an object. But here, within the realm, I'm using my arms, I'm sorry, but here within the area of Thogony, within the middle Neoplatonist, Platonic, and obviously the Chaldaean Oracles, there's a Thogonic, there's a higher pursuit of her as truly pure, as related to the cosmic soul. But here we go, as represented by the moon, and that moon is Selene. So yeah, they would use that word for it, and I know it's a long ways to get there. I was getting there, and so she's presented in that aspect again. Yeah, good job. Yeah. So you sounds like you've been reading these materials as well. So just a bit, yeah.
Do a part two awesome. For your other notes.
Huh?
You definitely need to do a part 2 lecture for your other notes that you've got.
Oh yeah.
That we couldn't cover today.
Yeah, I could actually do a whole lecture someday on just the magic of Hecate.
Let's do that.
Because I have 15 pages of sitting there.
You definitely need to do that.
Yeah, there's so many places I could go. I mean, as it is, I had to stop on page 55.
See, okay, maybe part 2 and part 3 then, because she's the triple aspect.
The funny thing is, I already got to page, I think I got into the 20s and I had to skip. So there's a whole bunch of materials that I didn't get to. But
I think definitely part 2 and part 3 then.
You guys have a good idea of who she is, right? So at least, and I want to take time. I don't want to rush through it because otherwise, somebody had to go. I know because the magic of the pirate. I gotta get to the good, Neoplatonic stuff. Gotta have a happy ending. Otherwise, I'm just probably be stuck in the first century someplace. And that's the end of Hecate. Connected with the darker forces, and you guys are all depressed. Okay, have a good day. That's a terrible talk. We're all down and depressed.
Yeah,
so
we don't want
get
that.
rehabilitated. So I always like happy endings. So,
but yeah, definitely book part 2 and part 3 in.
Yeah,
we'll all be there.
I can do more on it. Yeah, thank you for being here. Yes, yeah. Any other questions? The sky's the limit. Now it is. The sky, the sea, the earth.
I'm actually really curious on your take on, there's a really funny figure that I've run into. I'm not quite sure. It's actually almost a conflation of Hermes and Hecate called Hermicate. What would your perspective be on
that? Now, I am not equipped to answer that question.
Okay.
No, that's good. No, I like that. I always like when I get a question that goes, I have to think about it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a good scholar. So yeah, what do you know about it?
I just know that somehow that's a blend of Hermes and Hecate, and that
crossroads of assuming.
Yeah, and that this is someone that has figured somehow that I'm guessing it's because they you've got what's the term, the psychopomp aspect,
Psychopomp, right.
and also That just there's probably a sorceress connection.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Apart from that, I'm like completely drawing a blank. I mean, I just run across the name.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I think you've also run across of this image at various museums, because they will have this image that connects the two together, and sometimes it's pole-like. It's like a so, and we know that would be at the edge of the, maybe, no, really, I'm guessing I shouldn't even do this. Maybe is, Hermes is there at the crossroads, and Hecate is at the crossroads, and they're both connected to the realm of the underworld. Why not combine them two together as flip sides of one and the other,
right?
Become even more powerful. Maybe it's a time saver. What should we have?
Maybe. Exactly.
Hecate there, or Hermes. Hey, why don't we just have a Hermes Hecate? By the way, there's also images called Hecateans, which are pretty cool. That will be images of Hecate that were used for magical reasons. But yeah, I don't know. But we use as magical implements, and maybe this was just a magical connection between both. Maybe somebody who's listening to this will go, "Oh, I know what that is," and we'll say so in the comments. But yeah, no, I appreciate that. My whole thing is I always want to learn. So when I hear something, I'm there. Great question. Thank you for asking.
Thank you for listening.
Oh, absolutely. I'm into this. Any other questions? Even questions I won't even be able to answer. I'm for it. It's a form of learning. Anybody? No? I think I've been. No? Okay. Wow.
I guess we're all waiting for lecture number 2.
Yeah, at some point I'll put this together. Well, I guess I answered your questions, right? By the way, I do have another talk that is just on the Chaldaean Oracles. And I have another talk that's just on Thogony as related to Neoplatonism. So it's kind of throwing that one out there. So, because I'm very much into the philosophical aspects. So, but the Chaldaean Oracles are really cool. That was a popular talk, wasn't it, Terry? Did people show up? I don't know. Maybe nobody showed up for it. I don't know. I'm talking by myself, and I think everybody's there.
I think Terry might be muted.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Terry, you're unmuted.
I was doing sign language.
Oh, okay.
It was a fascinating.
She's like this. Like, okay. It's like, what? Chaldaean Oracles? That sounds like a crowd pleaser. Everybody's like,
it wasn't something that people immediately recognized, the title, so it was harder to get people, but it was a great talk though. Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I go in the Chaldaean Oracles, I go into detail on how they worked. I think it's kind of cool,
I'd personally be very into that.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. I'm very pragmatic about it. So yeah. So yeah, it does. I mean, if we can get a large group, the talk is already written, so I'll do that one. It is fascinating, and by the way, a large portion of it is on Hecate. So I mean, yeah, it's just Hecate from the context of the Chaldean realm going into Platonic. All right, wonderful, Jessica. So, okay, well, since I have answered all the questions. Not every question. I'm sure there's other questions, but I will just say adieu to you and you, and looking forward to seeing you all next time. Until then, have a great night.